Hello everyone and welcome to G Crochet Off the Hook. I'm G, Geraldine. I love to crochet and today we are sharing what I have off my hook for the month of June. Just before I show those makes, I do have 11 beanies here from my beanie COWLs, and these 11 beanies will be dropped off tomorrow in the city at my local yarn shop. They have collection points for different organizations where people drop off handmade knitted and crochet items that these organizations are then able to distribute to those who can benefit from them. And that is to people less fortunate on the streets, to women's shelters, to baby homes, and where possible, and obviously it does take a bit more organization, I do like to personally drop off beanies, but that's normally by arrangement with organizations where I have volunteered at, which I did do towards the beginning of winter. So I'll be very happy to share those 11 beanies and know that they are going to be of good use to somebody. So for the month of June, I was a little bit all over the place with regards to amigurumi and makes. And there are some makes that I hope I do still have a picture of. If not, they are repeat makes, so you might have perhaps seen a similar item in one of my previous videos. The first thing that I did do again this month was another Sober Granny Spiral COWL, which is a pattern by the Secret Yarnery. It was my daughter's birthday and I had made her one for her that she could wear on her sports fields while she's coaching. And then she also decided she wanted one like myself and her younger sister's one that she can also wear out and about. So I did complete one of those. And then I did also complete my yarn ends corner to corner chunky blanket. I know I have a picture somewhere of that I'll insert. And that I finished off specifically for our little four-legged baby, Milo, so that he had a winter blanket. And what I wanted to explain about that was how amazing it is that if we do keep our yarn ends from various projects, and I don't use chunky that often, so it actually surprised me how much I had saved up, and then how awesome it was that it could make such a large item, and none of those yarn ends went into the bin. So I have a picture which I'll insert, and all the colorful bits, there's a darker piece and then a whole lot of colorful bits until you get to a denim blue color. Now I used one full skein of Kismet's Lollipop Vesuvu. It's an Aran weighted yarn, 90% acrylic, 10% polyamide. I used one full 400 gram ball, which contains 700 meters. Now, this is what I wanted to show, is that first half of the blanket was made up of only yarn ends that I had kept, all different yarn ends that were Aran chunky weight. Then I thought when I finish all of that, I would take one of the full skeins that I have and complete that corner to corner blanket, which I did do. But I had a yarn check in there because the last end, I didn't have enough. This was completely used up. So I scrambled together a few more bits of chunky yarn that I had and completed the final blanket. But that showed me that those yarn ends were more than a 400 gram weighted skein of yarn and more than 700 meters. And all those yarn ends could have landed up in the bin. But by holding on to them, I was able to complete a whole project that is now being thoroughly enjoyed by little Milo. So that is one of the reasons why I make a plan of holding on to my yarn ends. Normally with the DK weighted yarn ends, I do cake them up as I collect them and then make blankets out of those as well. But so over 700 meters could have landed up in the bin and it didn't. So it does pay off to hold on to those yarn ends for a project that you could make. Then I think those were all my non-amigurumi makes. Then the end of May, beginning of June, Jenny from Inmysparetime Crochet released another tutorial for a pattern which I was very thrilled to make because I had never made an axolotl, and her tutorial was awesome because you have the little, it's basically all no-sew. You make your little axolotl, and I tried 2 of them, and the one was using the Lee's Voluto. It's not the right color, but it was for this one. I used the Lee's Voluto, and I used the Kismet Velvet for this other little one. And there wasn't really much of a difference in size when making something this small between these 2 yarns. But they are so sweet. Now, where I stay, it opened up many more questions because so many people, in fact, everybody that I met, children and adults, didn't know what an axolotl is. So I went into a whole, felt like Discovery Channel explanation of these little salamanders. But aren't they just too adorable? And this is a free pattern from Jenny on Inmysparetime Crochet. So I enjoyed making that. And then I also made another little, just a little fish tutorial by Chubby Cheeks, on Instagram. She's on Instagram and she's also on YouTube. There is a tutorial for it. And it was just for this little Chubby Cheeks fish. I did have plans for him for a novelty beanie that I was going to make. I was going to call it Out to Sea and have little amigurumis on it, but I changed my mind and went in a different direction for that project. So an adorable little, I might make this into a keychain, or it might just go into my stash. But adorable little, and with this one I used my acrylic cotton yarn. I was using the same yarn that I had used for this zebra. Cute, fast little make. A little Chubby Cheeks fish tutorial. You can see I wasn't really able to stay focused on projects that I had planned to make, but that's all right because sometimes the months go like that. And then another little amigurumi that I made was, which is a repeat, is Bennie the Mini Dragon Snuggler. Now you guys would have seen him. I had made 2 already. The one is living with me over here on guarding the lavender pot. And my girls were taking their dad to watch How to Train Your Dragon. And I did set out to try and make Toothless. As you can see, he's very incomplete. I had some trouble with the shaping of this one, and I was using the Kismet's velvet plush. I think I got the tail part and so forth, but yes, I got a little bit lost with the face, but that's okay. I reverted straight back to the Bennie Mini Dragon Snuggler, which is by Just a Mom Crocheting. And I made sure that each one of them had a little dragon to take with them to the movies. Yes, these are grown adults, but there's nothing like having a little bit of magic and fun in your life. So I made 3 more. And for my hubby, I made his was the largest one that I made, because the others had been made out of Kismet's velvet plush. And I used Elise Velito for his. And I can show the difference. So this was with the Kismet plush. And this was with the Elise Velito. So his did turn out to be larger than theirs, but that seemed quite appropriate as he was the daddy. And they took their little dragons with them to the movies, and they sent me pictures of their dragons with their popcorn and their cola. And then of course they got to take theirs home, and I know my daughter also reads something, Wings. She has a whole book collection. She has her little Bennie the Mini Dragon Snuggler sitting on her bookshelf. So that was a make that I made for everybody. And then I also made, I was making it as a consignment for the yarn shop, but my husband recognized all the pieces as I was crocheting this up, and he immediately said, "Oh, that one's mine." So of course it is his, and it's our little Springbok. And this is a pattern by Yarn Over with Natasha. I just embellished his ears a little bit and gave him our sports colors, green and gold, his little patch. I thought he turned out really smart. And for this one I used a 2.5mm crochet hook and our acrylic LOKK yarn, which I use for the majority of my plushies. And we had ourselves a little bookie. Really enjoyed making this one. And when you're in the mood, then it is actually quite amazing how fast it is that you're able to complete your projects. So this one went off the hook rather quickly, and I was back to making the amigurumis I know I like to make, which is just my little acrylic adorable characters. So that was, and this is most probably all not going to stay with me here. They're going to go back to their little person. Then I did also get to test a pattern this month, which I don't want to share with you quite yet. Although if you've seen my Instagram posts during this month, you would have known what it is. It's the Crescent Moon tote bag by Soph she's on Instagram, Crocheted Penny. And I'll show you the square that we did. And as soon as she releases her pattern, I will very excitedly show you the bag that I made. And I did also choose to line it myself. And it really has turned out to be a very usable and cute bag. I can see it in many different colors. My daughter's eagerly waiting to use it. So as soon as that pattern's released, I'll share all the details about what I used to make it and how it turned out, and my ever-growing repertoire of putting fabric inside our crochet pieces. So that's coming up, and I'll share as soon as I know that she's releasing the pattern. Then my most excitable piece that I did finish in June was my Into the Desert blanket. Now I did start this when F1 was starting. It was going to be my crochet whip that I would have with me during the F1 qualifying, the practices, and then the qualifying sessions. And unfortunately I frogged the whole thing because the yarn that I had chosen for it was just too busy. And I did want to use a variegated yarn, as I had earlier in the year when I made I Love Llama's blanket. And then as chance would have it, and I showed this in my yarn haul, I came across this color from across the room in the yarn shop called Desert Rose. And it's a Kismet's 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day. It is a DK yarn. And I was so pleased because I grabbed 2 balls of this yarn. And I'm very happy with the result of how my blanket turned out. In fact, I think it's not, I used a 4mm crochet hook, and it's 96 centimeters in length and 81 centimeters in width. And I think it makes the perfect little crib blanket, or you know, when you have baby in the car chair. And just trying to get it so that we can see it. I'll try and insert some of my pictures. I just thought these colors lended so well to a desert. And it's baby neutral. And such a fun, bright, happy color. So that's my Into the Desert blanket. And this is a pattern by Jenny from Inmysparetime Crochet. And I also just did a I can't really see there. I did a 2-row border, single crochet all the way around, and then the very last one is just a into the 3rd loop single crochet, which gave it a little bit of a ridge there. Absolutely love this blanket. I love Jenny's patterns. I've been doing quite a few things this year that like my corner to corner half double crochet houses COWL with repeat craft in me. It's out of my comfort zone. I don't really enjoy the half double crochet, but I wanted to get into that technique and improve my color changing. I normally feel that working blankets from left to right is too slow for me, but I've done, I love llamas, and I've done this into the desert blanket, which is a bit of filet crochet. The pattern is presented in such a lovely way because you can read the pattern. It's written out in two different ways, or you have the graph, and I do gravitate towards the graphs. And it's such a rhythm inspired pattern because you do need to pay attention to your counts, but once you get into the panels, it's an absolute pleasure. So I can actually see with both the blankets that I have done, I do want to try them in an Aran weight yarn, but for right now I am in love with the way these turned out. And of course I also wanted to make something to go with it, and I hopped onto a Crafty Concept internet thingy. My words are not forming today, but she also has a YouTube tutorial for it. It's a Crafty Concept, I think it's Ashley. She has a tutorial and a pattern for a cactus pillow. Now, bearing in mind this is very small, but that's what I wanted for a baby size, I used a 3mm hook for this, and the same yarn as the blanket. You make up your two panels. The one side is plain, the front side is with all the bobble stitches. If you read the pattern or you watch the tutorial, it does seem astronomical when you hear the number of bobble stitches that you're doing, but it's only really 3 rounds. The arms, I added some bobble stitches myself to them. I just really wanted that little prickly cactus appearance to them. And this is only, I lost my place again. This is only 24 centimeters in length, in width from here to here, and 27 centimeters in length. So it is a very small pillow, but I thought that was just the most adorable match for Into the Desert blanket by Jenny from Inmysparetime. So this was one of the projects that really gave me a lot of joy this month. And then last but not least, and just 2 seconds, I actually forgot I put it aside because I blocked it. In the nick of time, I did finish the corner to corner half double crochet houses, square by repeat craft me, and we have now reached the halfway point, and June was the beach house. So I had trouble choosing colors again June month. There we can see it. So that is the beach house June month square. And I'm going to do a quick recap. We have, I'm not even going to say the months back to front because I'm not going to get it right now. This was last month's one, which is the camper van. We had the barn house. We had the castle, birdhouse, and we started off with the winter cabin. So there we go. The next time I show them all together is when we have another 3 months accumulated. I have asked myself a few times recently, what do I plan on doing with this blanket? And I'm not sure how we are going to be guided to joining these squares together. But I might do the whole blanket, or I might actually put some of the squares together and do separate blankets. I'm not quite sure. But that was the month of June. I did also work on a novelty beanie, which we'll be able to see with Judy from Which Piece Crafts. That's coming up towards the end of June. Today is Saturday, 3 days before the end of June. One more fun thing I can show, because now I am just waffling. Look what my kids got me a few weekends ago when they went to the mall. They had G crochet printed on one of these cans, and they got their dad one that said Darth Vader from the Star Wars. I thought that was quite funny. But anyway, so that's too cute. I don't drink cola, so for now it will stay closed. It expires November. I'm pretty sure I have one of them drink this, and I can keep the empty tin in my craft room. I thought that was really sweet that they thought to do that. Anyway, folks, it's early Saturday morning. I think I need another cup of coffee. Tomorrow we have a trip to the city. I can drop off my beanies. 10 to 1, I'll snag a few skeins of yarn. And yes, we'll get ready for the month of July. So whatever it is that you're doing, I hope you're enjoying it. Take care, stay well, and happy crocheting.